My own son told me to go to hell right before kicking me out of the house I built with my own hands. He said his wife's family would be moving in instead. I walked out that night without a word, but what happened the very next morning? Oh, they never saw it coming. Stay with me. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica, the storyteller on the Family Tales channel. Here, I'll share stories about love, conflicts, betrayal, and infidelity within American families. These stories offer a deep look into relationships and the challenges families face. Stay tuned and explore with me. If you love emotional stories and want to uncover the hidden secrets in families, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our videos. My son locked eyes with me and declared, "Go to hell, my wife's family will be living here from now on." Just like that, he kicked me out of the house. I crafted it with my own hands, and as I walked away that night, a smile graced my face, for little did he know that the following day, everything would shift dramatically. Before we dive back in, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support truly makes a difference for the channel. Thank you so much. If you've already done so, drop a comment letting me know which state or country you're tuning in from. Now, let's get back to the story. I was rinsing the last plate when Daniel walked in, arms crossed and eyes colder than I'd ever seen from my own son. "Mom, we need to talk." His voice was flat, as if he were preparing to deliver bad news to an employee. I wiped my hands on the towel, pondering the possibilities. Could it be that he landed a job? Perhaps he wished to express his gratitude for my support in managing their expenses over the past few months. "Of course," I replied gently. He didn't even glance my way as he delivered the next line. "Emma's parents are moving in, and you need to move out." For a brief moment, I didn't quite catch that. My voice cracked. "Could you clarify what you mean? This is my house." He shrugged as if it were insignificant. "Not anymore. We've concluded that it makes more sense for them to be here. You'll find a solution." I gazed at him, anticipating a laugh or a playful remark, but there was none. My own son stood before me, firmly insisting that I leave our home. Brick by brick, I constructed my world after his father passed away. "Daniel," I whispered, my fingers clutching the edge of the counter. "Are you kidding me?" He smirked, that smirk that had no place on my boy's face. "I'm absolutely serious. Go stay with a friend," or his gaze was as unyielding as steel. "Just go to hell." I couldn't care less. My chest felt like it was tightening intensely. I felt like I was on the brink of falling apart. Why was all I could manage? He didn't even flinch. "Because this is our family now, Emma's family. We are crafting a future together. You're getting older, but you'll be just fine." Emma strolled in, phone in hand, a smirk on her face as if she had just claimed a victory. "Is she still around?" Her voice dripped with contempt as she asked. Daniel remained silent, simply turning to me and saying, "Start packing for tonight." For years, my mind was a void as I juggled 2 jobs to provide him with everything he could want, only to find myself feeling disposable. I longed to scream, to plead, to shake him until he recalled who I truly was. Yet I remained paralyzed, the bitterness of betrayal heavy on my tongue. Emma lounged in the doorway, casually sipping her wine and scrolling through her phone, treating my anguish as mere entertainment. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," she remarked, barely glancing my way. My throat ached, but I refused to let tears fall in front of them. I wouldn't grant them that satisfaction. "Fine," I said, my voice low and almost serene. Daniel appeared taken aback, as if he anticipated a confrontation, but I merely offered a small, cold smile, composed and in control. "I'll leave," Emma chuckled softly. "Good decision." I walked past them, each step weighing down on me more than the last. As I reached the stairs, I caught Daniel's voice. "Make sure she's out by tomorrow." My hand tightened around the railing. Tomorrow. After everything I did for him, I was cast aside, discarded like refuse, yet I walked with my head held high, even as my heart fractured into countless shards. They believed they had triumphed, that I was devoid of strength. Little did they know what was about to unfold. I ascended the stairs deliberately, clutching the railing as if it could mend my shattered heart. Each step weighed down on me more than the one before, as if the very walls were observing, murmuring secrets of my struggle. I wasn't ready to accept that this house was more than just wooden bricks. It was my life. The sound of my husband's laughter once filled this space, and Daniel took his first steps right on this very floor. And now I found myself being wiped from it, feeling as though I was invisible. I entered my bedroom, gently closed the door behind me, and paused for a moment, gazing at the bed. After his father passed, I bought it. My legs buckled beneath me, and I found myself sitting on the edge, pressing my hands into my lap with such force that my knuckles turned white. Overwhelmed with emotion, I felt the urge to cry out, to question the universe about my fate. But instead, I found myself reaching for the worn suitcase tucked away in the closet. The zipper resisted, a testament to years of neglect. My fingers quivered as I pulled open the drawers, meticulously folding each garment, a shirt, a sweater. Every piece of fabric whispered a memory. I wasn't prepared to let go. My hands trembled so fiercely that I nearly dropped my wedding photo. I gazed at it for what felt like an eternity. His smile, once a source of my strength, now lingered in my thoughts. I found myself pondering his reaction to this moment, yearning to hear his voice guiding me. Yet all that surrounded me was silence, punctuated only by the distant echoes of laughter from downstairs. Their laughter slithered up the stairs, seeping into my very bones like an ominous warning. I froze as Emma's voice rang out, sweet yet sharp. "Yes, Mom. At last, it's all ours." I shut my eyes, and that word, ours, seared through me like acid. Everything I toiled for, everything I sacrificed, distilled into a mere prize. They were eager to take what was mine. My jaw tightened painfully as I hastily shoved more clothes into the suitcase, ignoring the need to fold them. Tears threatened to spill, but I held them back. Not just yet. Keep it discreet. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from my friend Linda. "How are you managing these days?" I found myself staring at the screen, my fingers poised but unable to type. "How do you articulate the pain of being discarded by your own child? As if you were nothing more than refuse. The child you nurtured with your own hands now regards you as a weight to bear." I zipped the suitcase and paused, taking in my surroundings one final time. The curtains I crafted with my own hands, the small crack in the mirror from when Daniel tossed his toy a bit too forcefully. My life was woven into these walls, yet I knew I couldn't take the walls with me. My legs felt heavy as I pulled the suitcase down the stairs. I could hear them conversing in the living room. Emma was louder this time, insisting that I shouldn't take anything that belonged to us. My breath caught at the possessiveness in her words. I tightened my grip on the suitcase, my nails digging into the handle. Daniel remained silent, allowing her to unleash her venomous remarks. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, Emma stood there, arms crossed, smirking. "Leaving so soon?" she asked, sipping her wine as if it were a celebration. I gazed at her, then shifted my attention to my son, who wouldn't even meet my eyes. My throat throbbed with a multitude of unspoken words, yet I swallowed them down, opting for a small, icy smile that caused Emma to blink in surprise. "Yes," I said softly. As I turned to leave, she tilted her head in a mocking gesture. "Good," she said. "We'll send your things if we find any more." My heart splintered. Though I kept my composure, I walked past her slowly, each step searing itself into my memory. I opened the door, and the night air struck my face like a slap, a jarring reminder of reality for just a moment. I nearly turned back, nearly pleaded. But then his words echoed in my mind, "Go to hell." I walked to my car, placing the suitcase in the back. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, breath trembling. I turned the key in the ignition, but I didn't rush to hit the gas. Instead, I lingered, my gaze fixed on the house I constructed, the house I sacrificed for. As I observed the lights dancing in the windows, a resolve began to solidify within me. They believed they had triumphed. They believed I was out of options, but they couldn't have been more mistaken. Absolutely mistaken. I sat in the car, hands clenched around the steering wheel, my gaze fixed on the desolate road ahead. My chest heaved as if I had just sprinted a marathon, yet I hadn't budged an inch. The house lights flickered behind me, a harsh reminder of everything I had just lost. I wiped my face, unsure if it was sweat or tears, and murmured to myself, "You really did it, Daniel. You really kicked me out." My throat burned as the words escaped, and for a fleeting moment, everything felt surreal. I felt like I might crumble in that moment. But then my phone buzzed on the passenger seat. I picked it up, and my gaze fell on a name that made my heart skip a beat. Lisa. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I lingered on her name, the corners of my lips curling slightly. Lisa wasn't just a friend. She was my lawyer. I reached out to her a few months ago when something felt off. Emma began probing into my finances, and Daniel unexpectedly started discussing our home as if he had constructed it himself. One night, I found myself wide awake, pondering the unsettling thought. What if they attempt to seize it all? The thought gnawed at me until I finally reached out to Lisa, pleading for her help to safeguard what was rightfully mine. A quiet, bitter laugh escaped me. They underestimated me, thinking I was oblivious to the impending storm. The reality was stark. That house was no longer mine. Legally, it belonged to Lisa. I had signed the transfer papers months ago, hidden them away in her office, and kept it a secret from everyone, even Linda. So, in the eyes of the law, Daniel and Emma were merely squatting in Lisa's property. My phone buzzed again. I swiped to respond. "You okay?" Lisa's soothing voice flowed effortlessly through the speaker. I exhaled unsteadily. "He did it," I whispered. "He told me to leave. Emma's family is moving in." There was a moment of silence, followed by a soft chuckle from her side. "Well, that's going to be a problem for them." I reclined in my seat, gazing at the night sky through the windshield. I stepped out with a smile on my face. I murmured to myself, almost, "They believe they've shattered me. Good." Lisa said to let them hold on to that thought until tomorrow morning. I'll make the call. My heart raced as I realized they'll have 72 hours to vacate. No extensions. A strange calm enveloped me as I listened for the first time tonight. I felt unwavering, not diminished. I felt steady. "Thank you, Lisa." I softly replied, "Hold off on the thanks for now." Her response came through. "This is just the start." After the call ended, I lingered for a few more minutes, the silence thick, yet no longer oppressive. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. They believed they had emerged victorious. They believed they had pushed me out for good. But tomorrow, the game changes, and they're about to discover something crucial. You don't destroy a woman who has already faced hell, for that hell has taught her how to fight. I woke up the next morning with a stillness in my chest that felt out of place. It wasn't peace. No, peace is warm and soft. This was cold, heavy, like a stone sitting deep inside me. I lay in the small guest room at Linda's house, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of traffic outside. My body was exhausted, but my mind hadn't stopped racing all night. I kept hearing Daniel's voice, those words cutting through me over and over. "Go to hell, I don't care." The way he said it made me feel like I was nothing, as if 29 years of my life, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the double shifts to buy him clothes when he was little, meant absolutely nothing. I slowly propped myself up, my throat parched as I glanced at the clock on the nightstand. It read 8:17 a.m. Time seemed to stretch on endlessly. I sat there, focusing on calming my breath. A part of me longed to cry once more, but I held it back. Not anymore. I couldn't let tears dictate my day. Yesterday, I stepped out of my home with a smile, even though my soul was in turmoil. That smile wasn't for anyone else. It was a promise to myself that this wasn't the end. I got dressed quietly, slipping into a gray sweater and black slacks from my suitcase. I packed in silence last night. Each fold of those clothes held a memory, but now wasn't the time for reminiscing. It was time to take action. I grabbed my phone and car keys, driving until I discovered a quiet cafe near Lisa's office. The sun blazed, too bright for my mood. Inside, the cafe was nearly empty. Just a few students with laptops and an older man engrossed in a newspaper. I settled into a corner booth and ordered a black coffee, though I had no plans to drink it. When the cup arrived, I wrapped my hands around it, staring into the dark liquid as if it could provide answers. My phone buzzed and my heart raced until I saw the name on the screen, Lisa. I swiped it open and read her text. It's done. A slow, bitter smile crept onto my lips as my fingers trembled slightly while I typed back, "Thank you very much." I set the phone aside and reclined in the booth, exhaling deeply. I was unaware of the weight I had been carrying, yet the scene played vividly in my mind. Even in my absence, I was acutely aware of the unfolding events in the home I had crafted with my own hands. The knock on the door would have been crisp and intentional, not the sort you dismiss. Emma likely answered, phone in hand, that insincere smile fixed on her lips. I could almost hear her voice, cutting and full of arrogance. "Absolutely. How may I assist you today?" Then the lawyer Lisa sent would have responded in that composed, straightforward manner of his. "Are you Mrs. Harris?" Indeed, she would have remarked, her smile growing more restrained, that I'm here to present an official notice. He would have responded by presenting the documents, stating, "This property is legally owned by Lisa Carter. Your family is residing there without permission. Please ensure you vacate the premises within the next 72 hours. I envisioned Emma's laugh, sharp and brittle, the kind that emerges when someone feels trapped. There must be some misunderstanding. She would have snapped, "This is our home," but the lawyer wouldn't flinch. "No mistake, ma'am. You are trespassing. Failure to comply will result in law enforcement involvement." I smiled to myself in the cafe, my fingers tightening around the cup. For months, I allowed them to make me feel powerless for months, remaining silent while they whispered, planned, and plotted behind my back. But now, the law was at my door, reminding them just how powerless they truly were. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Lisa calling. I answered immediately. "Is he there?" I inquired, my voice barely rising above a whisper, and Lisa chuckled softly in response. He stands before her, and Emma's voice trembles with emotion. I can't help but feel a twinge of sympathy for her. She hesitated, her breath catching at the mention of Daniel's name. He strolled in, and she exclaimed to snatch the papers straight from my guy's grip, as if they were on fire. "Now he's shouting about errors and dialing up his lawyer." I laughed bitterly at his lawyer. "He doesn't even have a job." Lisa chuckled, her laughter low and icy. "By the way, he's trying to reach you." He paced with the phone in his hand, and I could only wonder what he might say. My gaze fell to the screen as it illuminated with Daniel's name, a reminder of a wound that refused to heal. For a fleeting moment, my heart wavered. A part of me longed to answer, to hear him say, "I'm sorry, Mom, I was wrong, come home." But deep down, I understood that wouldn't be the case. No, his voice would be cutting, laced with anger and entitlement. He would hold me responsible. He would label me as selfish, manipulating the narrative until I became the villain in his story. I fixed my gaze on the phone until the ringing ceased, then murmured into the quiet, "Not today." After ending the call with Lisa, I lingered in that cafe for what felt like an eternity, observing the ebb and flow of people as my coffee cooled beside me. My hands were calm now. My heart felt the same way. They believed they could cast me aside, leaving me with nothing. They thought they could rob me of my dignity and take away my shelter. But now the tables had turned. They were the ones packing boxes, losing sleep. Deep within me, something had shifted. I had finally found my strength. I wasn't pleading. I wasn't a victim. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a surge of control, and this was just the start. My phone buzzed incessantly, Daniel's name flashing on the screen repeatedly like a relentless alarm. For what felt like an eternity, I found myself unable to look away, my hands quivering ever so slightly on the cafe table. Deep down, I was already aware of how this conversation would unfold. It wouldn't qualify as an apology. It wouldn't reflect his acknowledgement of his actions. There would be anger, accusations, perhaps even insults. Yet a part of me still longed to hear his voice, my son's voice. The boy I raised. The boy. I cherished it beyond anything else in the world. I answered on the 6th ring. "Hello?" My voice was flat and steady, despite the pounding in my chest. "Mom," he snapped, devoid of warmth. Without a moment's pause, pure fury erupts. "What on earth have you done?" I closed my eyes for a moment, allowing his anger to envelop me like a powerful wave. I chose not to succumb to the depths of uncertainty. I asked softly, "Don't play dumb." He shouted back, his voice booming. I had to pull the phone away from my ear because a lawyer just appeared, claiming that this house isn't ours and that it's owned by someone named Lisa. "Are you serious right now?" I exhaled slowly, my fingers clutching the edge of the table until my knuckles throbbed. "This is serious." I spoke in a calm tone, and there was a moment of silence on his side. Only the sound of his heavy breathing filled the air. "You did this. You went behind my back and took my house away from me." His words struck me like a slap. "Your house?" I echoed, my voice trembling yet firm enough to pierce through to Daniel. "This house was mine long before Emma even knew your name." He scoffed. Hours and hours, Emma and I had envisioned our future here. "You've completely messed it up now. Have you considered the impact of your actions on us?" I bit down hard on my lip until the taste of blood filled my mouth, knowing that if I didn't, I would scream. "What I've done to you," my voice cracked on the first word, then hardened like steel. "You told me to go to hell yesterday, Daniel. You stood in my kitchen and ordered me to leave the home I built, claiming Emma's family needed it more, and now you're furious because you can't take what isn't yours." He cursed under his breath. "Steele, are you insane? It's time to settle the score. I'm your son." That word snapped something inside me. Years of memories flashed in an instant, his tiny hand gripping mine on the first day of school. The nights I stayed awake sewing his Halloween costumes because we couldn't afford new ones. The years I gave every piece of myself to make sure he never went without. "I owe you nothing." I articulated each word with precision and intent. "You're a grown man, Daniel. You made your choice when you allowed that woman to speak to me like I was nothing. You made your choice when you told me to leave my own home." He started to speak, but I cut him off. "You know what hurts the most?" I whispered, my throat tight, tears burning my eyes, even though I refused to let them fall. "It's not about losing the house. It's about losing the son I thought I had." There was a moment of silence on the other end, and for a fleeting second, I thought I heard his breath hitch. But then he returned, his voice sharper than before. "Fine. You want a war? You have one." The call abruptly cut off before I had a chance to reply. I sat there, frozen, staring at the black screen, my hand still clutching the phone as if it could prevent me from falling apart. My chest ached, my throat burned, and for the first time in years, I felt something I couldn't articulate.
Not hate, not love, just a profound, hollow ache where my son used to be. I set the phone down on the table, my fingers quivering slightly. I expected tears to flow once more, yet they didn't. Instead, a bitter, fractured laugh escaped me, carrying the metallic taste of iron, because he still failed to understand. He still believed this was a game he could win.
He thought I would crumble like I always did, but he was mistaken, dead wrong. I whispered to myself, "You have no idea what's coming, Daniel." As I sat in that cafe, surrounded by strangers and the hum of life, I felt something dark and steady take root within me. Not revenge, not hate, just resolve. They thought they could break me, thought they could erase me, but now the war they wanted was about to begin. I had thought Daniel's call was the worst of it. I was mistaken. That night, my phone incessantly vibrated on the nightstand as I attempted to shut my eyes and find my breath. But then Linda entered the guest room, her phone in hand, her face ashen. There it was, a Facebook post featuring Emma's beaming smile, accompanied by a caption that made my stomach churn. "My cruel mother-in-law kicked us out with a baby on the way." We find ourselves without a destination. How can anyone be so devoid of compassion? Below it lay a sea of comments, with strangers labeling me as evil, as one woman expressed. How could a mother treat her own son this way? It's truly shameful. My hand trembled as I navigated through a barrage of hateful messages filled with name-calling and threats. My stomach churned and I struggled to catch my breath. She turned me into the villain. I murmured, my voice trembling. "She desires for everyone to despise me." Linda softly placed her hand on my arm and urged, "Don't pay attention to them. It's not worth it," yet I found myself unable to stop. Each comment pierced deeper, as if she were my own mother. I would also distance myself from her. What a selfish old hag. It felt as if I were witnessing strangers tear me to shreds, while Emma reveled in every moment. I tossed the phone onto the bed and buried my face in my hands, trembling for a brief moment. I questioned it all. Did I push the limits too far? Should I have just stayed silent and walked away? Was I truly the terrible person they were portraying me to be? I sat there, overwhelmed by guilt, until something caught my attention, a line hidden in Emma's post. She wrote that we were planning to fix the house and perhaps even sell it to begin our new life. My breath caught. Sell it. They intended to put my home on the market. That was more than mere betrayal. It felt like a theft. My sadness transformed into rage in an instant. The flavor of every tear I cried for Daniel, for that boy, lingered on my lips. I believed I had nurtured them, but they withered away in a heartbeat. This situation transcended my personal struggles. It became a quest to obliterate me entirely, to strip away everything I had left while feigning innocence. In that moment, I reached for my phone and dialed Lisa. She picked up on the first ring. "You saw the post," she said calmly, as if she already knew. "Lisa," I whispered, my voice trembling with anger, not fear. She stated that they planned to sell my house. They intended to take everything, as Lisa mentioned, and that was precisely what we required. This is fraudulent intent to sell property. This only solidified our position tenfold. I shut my eyes, clutching the phone with a grip so tight it stung. I'm determined to wrap this up with Lisa. No more warnings. There are no more opportunities. I want them out of my life for good. She acted without hesitation. Now we move forward. I'll get the paperwork ready tonight. After the call ended, I found myself staring at the wall, my heartbeat echoing like a drum. Emma believed she had humiliated me. She believed she had triumphed, yet she was unaware of a crucial detail. I've faced humiliation and been knocked down by life more times than I can remember. But each time, I rose again. This time, I wasn't just getting back up. I was determined to seize everything that was mine. They believed they could seize what was mine.
I quietly reminded myself that you were seeking a battle, Emma. As the room fell into silence, I opened Facebook and took a final look at her smiling picture, etching that smug expression into my memory. Soon, that smile would be a thing of the past. The next morning, I awoke with a singular thought in my mind. I had reached my limit. I was no longer going to let them pull me through the dirt. Emma's post continued to circulate rapidly online, and people who knew nothing about me were hurling insults my way. I had never experienced anything like this before. Sitting on the edge of Linda's bed, I gripped my phone so tightly that my fingers ached. I scrolled through the comments one last time, and with each word, a resolve solidified within me. They wanted the world to turn against me? Fine. The law was on my side, and I was ready to wield it. Just then, my phone rang. Lisa. I didn't even bother with a greeting before I blurted out my thoughts. Tell me you have good news. Her voice was calm, steady, like a lifeline in a storm. I do. The paperwork is ready. Today marks the day we submit our filing. I exhaled, my heart pounding. What does that really mean? She stated slowly that Daniel and Emma are no longer just facing eviction. That post where Emma confessed they intended to sell the house serves as evidence of their intent to commit real estate fraud. We're introducing charges, and my breath caught. Fraud? That sounds serious. It is, she said. If they push this, they'll end up in court. If they're smart, they'll back down and walk away quietly. But something tells me Emma isn't that smart. I released a sharp laugh, tinged with bitterness. You're absolutely right about that. My fingers pressed into my knees as I murmured, I can't believe this is happening. I raised him to be better than this, Lisa. I poured my heart into this, and now he's allowing her to tear us apart. A moment of silence hung in the air before Lisa spoke softly. You shouldn't be the one feeling ashamed. He made his decision. Now it's time for you to make yours. Are you ready to go all in? I'm all in. Let's get this wrapped up. Meet me at the office in an hour. She mentioned that we would file, and an officer would deliver the final notice today. After hanging up, my hands trembled, but not from fear this time. It was a blend of anger, grief, and a feeling I hadn't experienced in weeks. For so long, I allowed them to dictate everything, where I lived, what I lost, how the world perceived me. But now, I was the one taking charge. I got dressed, pulled my hair back, and stared at myself in the mirror. My face appeared tired, older than yesterday, but my eyes were sharp again. No more tears. I whispered, not for them. At Lisa's office, the papers felt weighty in my hands as she slid them across the desk. Sign here. Her tone was calm yet resolute as she stated, once you do this, it becomes official. My pen hesitated for a moment. For years, I had signed school forms, medical papers, and checks, all for Daniel, always for him. And now, here I was, about to sign something that could alter his life forever. My throat constricted, but then I recalled Emma's smirk, Daniel's voice telling me to go to hell, and that post that transformed me into a target for the world's disdain. I pressed the pen down firmly and signed. When I looked up, Lisa offered a small nod. You just reclaimed your power. I stepped out of that office feeling both liberated and burdened. Liberated because I finally asserted myself. Burdened because this issue transcended mere property. It was a tale of blood, betrayal, and a bond that felt irreparable. As I approached my car, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I opened it and my heart skipped a beat. Please, Mom, don't do this. We have nowhere else to go. For a moment, my fingers hovered over the keyboard, my eyes blurred with tears that burned hot and bitter. But then every word came rushing back to me. He expressed to me every glance of disdain, every decision he took. I silenced the screen, refraining from a response, and murmured quietly to myself, You should have considered the consequences before I started the car. My jaw clenched, fully aware that this was the point of no return.
Once I crossed this line, there would be no turning back, and I was already halfway over. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I found myself in my living room folding laundry when a news alert flashed on my phone. Initially, I thought it was just another harsh comment from strangers online, but as I opened it, my heart raced. Local couple under investigation for attempted real estate fraud. There it was, Daniel and Emma's names starkly displayed for all to see. My hands froze mid-fold as I gazed at their wedding photo, likely pulled from Facebook by the reporter. I read every line slowly, almost in disbelief, even though I had anticipated this moment. The article detailed how they attempted to sell a property they didn't legally own, and how the rightful owner, Lisa, had taken legal action. It even mentioned the potential for fines and probation if charges were upheld. My breath hitched as I whispered, "God, what have you done, Daniel?"
The familiar buzz of my phone was enough. I already knew who was reaching out. "Mom, I'm really scared. They're saying something about jail. Emma is in tears. We're at a loss for what steps to take next. I'm pleading with you. Please, call me back." My chest feels so tight. I pressed my hand against it, yet I remained still. For a fleeting moment, guilt pierced me, sharp and swift like a needle. This was my son, my flesh and blood. I remember him as a boy, racing through that very house with scraped knees, pleading for just one more bedtime story. And now, here he stood, a grown man, struggling in a chaotic world. He made himself known. My eyes stung, yet I held back the tears. I couldn't just stand by after everything. This wasn't my fault. It was the result of his decisions, of Emma's greed, of both of them believing that love gave them the right to trample over me without any repercussions. Lisa called while I sat there, my laundry forgotten on my lap. "Did you see the news?" she asked. "I did," I replied quietly. It's odd, isn't it? I feel like I should be happy, yet here I am, not feeling that way." "You're human." She spoke in a gentle tone. "It's your son, but remember, justice isn't the same as revenge. This was about self-protection, and you acted as needed." I shut my eyes. "Will they face jail time?" Lisa mentioned that cooperation could lead to a significant fine, perhaps a period of probation. They'll learn a lesson either way. I thanked her and ended the call, my gaze fixed on the muted TV screen where their names continued to scroll. Emma's Facebook account had fallen silent. Her family had stopped sharing pictures of lavish dinners. They had vanished, retreating from the shame they attempted to impose on me. For the first time in weeks, I experienced something akin to relief. Not joy, not triumph, but a quiet sense that the scales were finally balanced. I picked up another shirt from the laundry pile and folded it slowly, my hands steady this time. But just as I placed it down, my phone lit up again. Another message from Daniel. I nearly passed it by, but my curiosity won out. "I'm sorry, Mom. Please forgive me. I ruined it all." I fixated on those words until they faded, my throat constricting once more. Apologies. Just 2 small syllables that arrived too late, buried beneath the weight of all the pain. I chose not to respond. Instead, I placed the phone down, wiped my hands on my jeans, and whispered softly into the stillness of the room. "I trust you now see the impact you've had on me, as this situation transcended mere property concerns. It was a connection I doubted could ever be mended. Deep down, I understood that, regardless of the law's leniency, life had already rendered its judgment." Alone in my modest kitchen, I found myself gazing at the wall while the refrigerator's hum broke the stillness. The laundry was neatly folded, the dishes washed, yet my thoughts were chaotic and unmanageable. I couldn't tidy up the turmoil within. The television remained off. I had no desire to hear more news or face another headline blaring Daniel and Emma's names, even for just a few minutes. I sat there, hands resting on the table, tracing the edge with my fingertip as if it could ground me. Then my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, thinking it was just another alert or someone resending the article. But when I glanced at the screen, my heart sank. It was Daniel. The text was short, only 6 words. "I'm sorry, Mom. I completely ruined everything." My throat constricted immediately. I fixated on those words until they became a haze, my heart weighed down by an indescribable feeling. In that moment, I struggled to label the emotions swirling within me: anger, love, grief, all intertwined in an unbearable knot. I felt the air escape my lungs, and I found myself whispering softly, "You could have mentioned that earlier." My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling with anticipation. I typed out 3 different responses, only to delete each one. "It's too late. Delete. You hurt me too much. Delete. Come home. Delete." I set the phone down and pressed my hands against my face, feeling the sting behind my eyes. How did we get here? How did we go from birthday cakes and bedtime stories to legal papers and news headlines? I wanted to call him. I wanted to hear his voice like it used to be, soft and boyish, when he still looked at me like I was his whole world. But then I remembered Emma's smug smile and his voice saying, "Go to hell. I don't care." I recall the day I carried my suitcase out of my own house while they laughed in the kitchen. My chest burned with the memory, and my hands fell from my face, fists clenched. I picked up the phone again and typed slowly this time, each word like a shard of glass cutting me open. "I'll always love you, but I can't save you from yourself." My finger hovered over send for what felt like an eternity before I finally pressed it. The screen went dark, and the silence in the kitchen grew louder than ever. I sat there for a long time, my eyes fixed on nothing, wondering if those words would be the last I ever said to him, wondering if this was the end of us as mother and son. I was unaware of the answer. All I understood was that true love shouldn't inflict this kind of pain. 6 months later, I awoke to sunlight streaming into my modest apartment by the ocean, the soothing sound of waves wafting through the window, soft and steady, like a heartbeat that never let me down. I slipped out of bed and made my way to my little kitchen, where a basket of fresh bread rested on the counter, cooling. My mornings had transformed into a simple routine: coffee, baking, and the gentle hum of tranquility. No shouting, no judgment. No footsteps weighed down by resentment, just me, experiencing this for the first time in years. I experienced a profound sense of belonging as I opened the window wider, allowing the gentle breeze to caress my face while I gazed at the vast, endless blue of the ocean, softly whispering to myself. I endured. It wasn't simple. The nights were the toughest initially, nights when I'd turn over and find the vacant spot where my husband once lay, and now the void left by my son as well. Nights when my mind replayed every harsh word Daniel directed at me, every disdainful glance from Emma. Yet I would remind myself this wasn't merely about loss. This was a journey of release, and I had to embrace it because clinging on was suffocating me. I filled a chipped mug with coffee and settled at the small table by the window, aimlessly scrolling through my phone. It had been months since Daniel had reached out. His last message lingered unread, a silent echo after my reply that night. I often found myself hovering over it, tempted to dive back into that conversation, to say something, anything. But then the weight of past loves, those who never reciprocated, crashed over me. I couldn't bear that again. Yet, a flicker of hope remained. I wished he was okay, that he had gleaned something from this experience, and perhaps one day he would walk through my door, free of anger. My gaze shifted to the photograph on the wall. Me and Daniel at 5, his little arms wrapped around my neck, both of us beaming, untouched by the world's troubles. I smiled softly, my fingertips gliding along the frame. "My love for you will always remain." I softly uttered the words for him, even if they fell on deaf ears. After breakfast, I donned my apron and began kneading dough for the bakery down the street where I worked part-time. My hands moved deliberately, pressing, folding, shaping, as if I were reconstructing myself one loaf at a time. It was genuine work. The aroma enveloped me in a warm embrace. It provided me with something to grasp when everything else had eluded me. By afternoon, the scent enveloped the space, and a peculiar warmth blossomed in my chest, a subtle triumph, not over Daniel or Emma, nor even the past, but over that fragment of myself that believed I couldn't survive without them. That part had vanished. I had endured betrayal, faced humiliation, and battled loneliness, and now I had found my peace. I took one final look out the window, the sea glistening beneath the golden sky, and exhaled a breath that felt like liberation. "Farewell, Daniel," I whispered gently. "Wherever you may be, I hope you discover your path." Then I turned back to the counter, brushed the flour from my hands, and smiled, not for anyone else, not for appearances, but for myself. For the first time in a long while, my life was truly my own again, and that was more than enough. That's it for today's story. If you found it moving, don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.